All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of From the Fourth Line, presented by Offside News. My name is Emma, and I'm joined, as always, by my lovely co-host, Marcie.
Hello.
We're kind of on, like, a tight timeline for this one. We have about an hour to get through the show, and we have a lot to talk about. It is not my fault. I was home, actually, and ready to go about 20 minutes ago. Nor is it your fault either, but it is just the matter of circumstance.
Yeah. For once, I'm not at fault for being late.
No. But with that being said, we can get started. I guess we'll just like hop right into it. Leafs opening night was last night. It also, so we've had two games of, I guess, the actual proper like NHL regular season. I know the global series, like the games in Prague happened, like global series happened. I just like
Yeah.
I don't know. It was like it just felt like it was like I maybe partially it's because it's like it was New Jersey and Buffalo, which like in the Canadian like realm of things aren't huge. Like they don't get talked about at all in like the Canadian hockey media like space. So like as someone who lives in Canada and that's the hockey media that I consume primarily, like I watched both those games. I just still I was like, oh, this still feels like a preseason game, even though it was like the NHL lineups. I think also because there just wasn't the same hype around it, and it was only one game a day. Anyways, doesn't matter. But Leafs did play last night against Montreal, and they play tonight against New Jersey, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But we'll talk about the Montreal game first. Leafs lost 1-0. It's their first shutout loss since November 2021. And I saw someone pull up the roster from that game, and now I can't find the tweet, and I'm really mad about it because I saw it and then like didn't like it or didn't like bookmark it or anything, or it didn't even like send it to you. And so like now I'm like, oh no. I think if I just go like Leafs shutout, it'll probably come up in like the top tweets because it did actually have quite a few likes when I did see it, and that was last night.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like the first like Leafs shutout in 3 years. I do want to say like because the lineup for that game, that's why I wanted to find the lineup because it's so ridiculous. Um it's so ridiculous of a lineup that is just like, oh yes, this was the Toronto Maple Leafs in 2021, and this was also a team that like the Leafs. I think Leaf fans were just like convinced we're going to win a Stanley Cup.
We are.
I was talking about like in 2021, like if you look at this lineup, and I'm trying to find it and I can't. And now I'm like upset about the fact that I can't find it because I know it's here. And it's like it's like 100, 200, it's like 220 something games it's been. And I really wish I had liked it or even like screenshotted the tweet and like sent it somewhere. But I didn't because I got like, I don't know why. I just was like in a mood and I was like, I refuse to address this at all. But I'll keep looking for it as I continue to scroll and we can loop back to what this lineup was because all I just remember is like Nick Ritchie was like our top line left wing. And like Michael Bunting was on the fourth line. It was like one of those lineups where I was like, oh, okay, we're doing this now. I do also know Joseph Wool was the backup for that game. I do remember seeing that because I was like, oh, it was like when he was with the team in 2021. So it was like that long ago. But yeah. It doesn't matter. Whatever. Yeah, so Stoller starts at net because Joseph Wool, I don't think we didn't discuss this on the show on Monday because we didn't know this on Monday.
No.
Because that was all news that came out like Tuesday, Wednesday. Was Joseph Wool was not in the lineup. He was put on IR for lower body stiffness or lower body tightness.
Tightness. It was.
Yeah. Which like
my world came crashing down.
I know your world came crashing down.
Because I'd been, for once, not on my phone all day.
Yeah, you were out shopping and I had called you about 4 times and
Yeah,
was like
I was walking back from my friend's flat.
and I called you about 4 times when I was home.
Mm.
Because that's when the news came out and I was like, oh my God, you should know this. And then you never picked up. And so I was like, okay, well, I have to leave anyways to go to the radio station. And so I was at the radio station and I was hanging out before we started our show, just chatting with Tyler, my co-host. And you called me and I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to. So I pick up and I'm like, hey. And I knew you were walking. I didn't know you were in the middle of the street though, when I told you that he was not gonna be, he was on IR.
Yeah,
And meanwhile, and it was like I didn't have my headphones on, so Tyler could hear everything, and he was just very concerned.
Yeah, I mean, if it's for someone that doesn't know me, I'd probably be concerned too.
Yeah.
It's like me stopping in the middle of the road is like normal. Shouldn't be.
Yeah, so yes, it was Stolios versus Montembeau and net, with Dennis Hill to be his backup. Placed on which the thing is with Wool placed on IR, he has to miss 7 days, and that does actually kind of rule him out because I did more research onto this because I was like, I think because we were talking about this yesterday, and I even said this on the radio. I was like, if it's retroactive, he doesn't have to miss 7 days. But I don't think you can retroactively put him in IR, like on IR, unless he's already had missed games, if that makes sense. Or at least that's what I saw someone say. I don't know 100% sure. That is something where I have to like kind of delve into the CBA about. I think that would be a CBA thing and not like a league rules thing. But I'll have to like delve into both of those if I really wanted to make sure. So we'll see. Who knows? I do know that Berube was asked today why Hildeby was called up and not why Hildeby was called up and not Matt Murray if you're going to have to play one of them because you have a back-to-back with travel. And Berube said it was a management thing, so it was probably it was a Brad Treliving decision.
Yeah.
But yeah, so not in the lineup was Bobby McMahon and Timothy Liljegren, most notably. Which sure, all right. But also as well, can the I don't know why we're so convinced Connor Timmins is going to work for this team.
Like
he's not. And I say
been
this was like utmost love to Connor Timmins, but like I'm very confused why this is something that's happening where and Elliot Friedman put out a 32 Thoughts article yesterday as well, in which he said that the Leafs are trying to actively shop around Liljegren at the moment, which like leaves me just even more confused.
Like what, in the nicest way possible, what does Connor Timmins have on them?
He keeps threatening. He's kept his water bottle from when he had mono, and he's just threatening to give the entire locker room mono. He's like, give me playtime or else. But yeah, like I don't know.
No one does.
But like that's the thing where it's like I don't know why you aren't playing Connor Timmins. Not Connor Timmins. Why you are playing Connor Timmins. No, why you aren't playing Timothy Liljegren. It's been a long day. For me, I had class at 8:30 this morning. But yeah, like I don't understand it. Because you want to develop Timothy Liljegren as a player, right? You want him to get better. You want to be able to use him in more high leverage situations. But if you can't even give him a bottom pair with someone very defensively minded like Simon Benoit, like I'm not saying like, because it's like when you think about it, when you have like the Benoit Timmins pairing, that is probably the most defensively minded defenseman you have in your lineup. Like the most defensive thinking, like defense first thinking defenseman you can have on your lineup. Like at least in your system, like out there. And then you also have essentially a forward who can skate backwards in Connor Timmins, but not a forward at the level of like Erik Karlsson.
Yeah.
And so I can see the logic there where you're like, okay, because that is, again, very traditional pairing. We've seen it time and time again. Look at like when Karlsson was in Ottawa and he had Mark Mathot with him. But
yeah.
it obviously doesn't work because Connor Timmins is not Erik Karlsson. So like it's just bad, and you have then Simon Benoit. Essentially, if you watched any time that pairing was on the ice, it looked like just Simon Benoit was doing it was like a group project, and Simon Benoit was doing all the work, and like Connor Timmins was just like putting his name on it.
Yeah. It's yeah, it's
oh my sorry, I just got a notification from the offside work chat really is keeping us in the loop. Speaking of former Toronto defensemen, Canes are apparently in Giordano talks.
oh my god.
Speaking about Toronto defensemen.
Oh, why? Sure, why not?
But yeah, but Bobby McMann is playing tonight. Anyways, the only goal of the game, and I say this, why Connor Timmins? Because Connor Timmins was in the penalty box when Cole Caulfield scored the only goal of the game on the power play, 7 minutes into the first. Like, I'm not mad at that, like the fact, like, see, the thing is yes, because it was a 1-0 game, like that goal seems like such a huge thing compared to what it is. Because it's a goal, those things happen. I'm not like, oh my god, like this team is ruined, we're so over, like we're never gonna win, like they allow, like, no, there were teams last night who had worse nights. There were better teams than the Leafs last night who had worse games. Just go look at the score of the Edmonton Oilers Winnipeg Jets game. It could have been worse. The Leafs got absolutely goalied and also were just like absolutely goalied. And also there was just other things. But yeah, I also have on here awkward positioning from Stolarz in the first period because like it just like for a guy who I spent like 2 weeks praising his positioning in net for like 2 weeks straight. The first period I was watching it and I was like, dude, do you know where your posts are right now?
Yeah, it was.
I was like, and I'm like, that's not necessarily what led to that power play goal. It truly was a power play goal. Like those, right? Like,
yeah,
those happen. That's kind of the nature of the power play.
Yeah.
And I will say that Stolarz' positioning and like he looked more like what we had seen from him in the preseason as the game went on. So I don't know if it's nerves or whatever, because he wasn't expected to start this game like 24 hours ago. So literally, because 24 hours before this game starts, we had Joseph Woll media availability after the practice where he literally was, yeah, no, I'm excited. Like, I'm excited to start tomorrow night, blah, 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 blah. Had that really awkward question about Dallas. That was really weird. And then people were like, this is so silly. And I'm like, it's also bad. Can we acknowledge that it's bad? And people were like, well, good on Joseph Woll for like answering. Guys, we are focusing on the wrong thing. It's a bad question. We're not like that was the thing where I was like, I think I was mad at the question. People were like not realize. I'm like, guys, it's such bad. Anyways, but yeah, so Leafs had 47 shots, which is the record for the most amount of saves in a season opener shutout. I believe is like the record that we're running with here for Montembeault. I will say, like, most of them were directly at the logo on his chest, which, like, guys, come on. And I'm sure
you guys are paid to do this.
You're paid to do this. Like, I get it. I know you don't like Montreal. You don't have to keep throwing things at the logo. But, and I know, like, I'm sure Berube probably is going to probably told them about this, like, after the game. probably will tell them about this before the game, probably will tell them about this on the bench at the game tonight, is get to the front of the net and get chippy with it. Like if you I've been saying this for years, is the Leafs change their play style in the playoffs to play how they think they should be playing. You should be playing like you are going to play in the playoffs. Maybe not to the point where you're taking more penalties because you can get away with more penalties in the playoffs, but like the same style of play now. Game one. And part of scoring goals in the playoffs is the greasy ones, where it is just from you being annoying at the front of the net and sticking your stick in where it really probably shouldn't go. That sounds wrong. Um,
Oh,
like,
whatever.
but like getting your stick in there and poking at the puck when it's loose in front of the net, and that's what they should be doing, and that's what they really didn't do. There was a couple of good chances. The Leafs did get better in the second half. Austin Matthews had a shot off the crossbar that was really pretty damn close because that beat Montembeault cleanly. It just hit the crossbar. And then also as well the Steven Lorentz chase. I will say he is the gem of the fourth line right now, and I would like to see him play with Dewar
Yeah. Please.
because I think those two will complement each other beautifully on the fourth
Oh,
line.
so well.
I do know because I would like in a dream world where like being a winger and a center didn't matter. I would love to throw it a fourth line of like at the moment because I guess that's where he is in the lineup right now of like Bobby McMahon, Steven Lorentz, and Connor Dewar. Those I just listed off like three wingers though. That's the problem.
That's like me with my fantasy lineups and how I want
Oops,
them.
all winger.
It's like,
Oops,
oops,
all
oh
winger.
boys.
Oops, all left wingers. Because they
It
all also
happens.
all are can play on the left side.
We'll make it work.
Yeah. What else do I got here? Yeah. I also have noted down so Oliver Ekman-Larsson flubbed out of the box breakaway. Dude. Dude.
Come
You
on.
don't get given a more perfect gift than that, which is a Mitch Marner pass off the boards that go right where you're going out of, and you had so much time. He had so much time and he just rushed it. And it wasn't good. It was just like that was such a prime shooting chance where I'm like, if it was probably about 4 or 5 other guys on the lineup that night who had that opportunity coming out of the box, goal.
Yeah.
Like
Easy.
Mitch Marner would have Austin Matthews, Nylander.
It would have been beautiful.
It would have been beautiful. But no, that was just bad.
We have
Robertson,
nice things.
well, because I'm gonna pick guys further down the lineup, so I'm not just being like, yeah, core four guys. No. Um, I also I have in here unsure on who will start because I did write these notes this morning before the Leafs even had their practice skate. So we do know who will start tonight against New Jersey. But yeah, so I do have a couple more notes about the actual game. Yeah, first shutout since November 2021. I couldn't find the exact lineup, but it like just like imagine like the peak lineup of like the like November 2021 Toronto Maple Leafs, which is like hold on, I can pull up this roster actually. Yeah, was like who was oh yeah, like Travis Dermott, Nick Ritchie, I know was in the lineup. Pierre Engvall, Ilya Mikheyev, like
Oh my god, Ilya Mikheyev.
Ilya Mikheyev, yeah, who's now playing on the line with Connor Bedard.
Oh, this is not a real spot. So insanely unserious.
But yeah.
Oh boy.
Um but yeah, so
Crazy.
yeah, it is a little bit mental. But also yeah, so it's the first shutout that the shutout lost since November 2021. First shutout in a season opener for the season opener loss since 2003 versus Montreal Canadiens. To put this into perspective of how long ago this was, I wasn't even born when this game happened because I was born a month later. But Matt Sundin was the captain. Pat Quinn was the head coach. Ty Domi was on this team.
God.
Darcy Tucker was on this team. I was looking at the roster. I was like, oh, we had Ed Belfour
Wait, oh my
on
God.
this team.
What was the
Brian
deal?
McCabe, no relation to Jake McCabe. Like I could actually, I'll pull up this roster because okay, so this was this 03, it was the 03-04 season. Uh
Yeah, what was the
uh
date? I want to work out how many days old I was.
October, it was October 11th, 2003.
So I was less than a month old. Oh my God, I was less than a month old. It's
Yeah.
been that
Uh the
long.
so yeah, this team, yeah, oh Gary Roberts, Joe Newendike, I forgot Owen Nolan, Thomas Cowerly, Alexander McGinley was a Leaf, Matt Stajan, Brian Leach, Brian Marchman.
It's crazy.
Yeah, Robert Reichel, Ron Francis. Like
Oh
that, yeah. That was the last time that that was the last time the Leafs were shut out in a season opener, and it was against Montreal in 2003.
Oh boy.
Just to put that out, because I was like, I don't even remember, like, because that was the thing where I was like, when was the last time the Leafs were shut out of a season opener? Because I was like, I can't remember for the life of me the last time that happened, for obvious reasons. Now looking when I looked it up, so I
I
was
wonder
like,
why.
oh, I yeah, I was like, I wonder why.
Oh,
Um,
baby.
but I was looking and I wonder why. Yeah, and but also as well, but that oh that 2003 that 03-04 team did then go on to finish second in the division.
Mm.
Um, would finish with finish second in the Northeast Division. Would go on to lose in the conference semifinals to Philadelphia Flyers. So yes, this was the same team that was the last time the Leafs um won a round in the playoffs since like they did it against Tampa. Like when we talk about like, oh, it's been 19 years.
Yeah.
This was the last time before that series. But yeah, so maybe it's a good omen. But yeah, just
Yeah, that's what I said. I said we're getting all the really bad parts of the season out of the way.
really the parts where I'm like sitting there like, oh my god, save me.
Yeah. Like we might be miserable for a bit, but it'll all work out.
Um, but yeah, I was looking it up and I was going through like I was on like hockey reference,
Mm.
going through because they'll have the game logs, right? So I was like going through the year and I was just clicking back and back and back on all the years and I was like, oh my god. Because I was like, I even remember like back when this team was bad. I saw
Mhm.
them in I saw the I saw the home opener. It was a home and the season opener in 2014. I was there in the building. So obviously I do remember them scoring, but it was like I can't even remember like I couldn't even remember when this team was like bad, like
Mm.
bottom of the league bad, where they got shut out of their season opener. And so it's like you had to go all the way back to 2003 for that, which is crazy. But yeah, so that was a fun, no, I don't know if I'd call it a fun little stat, but that is something that I did
Definitely a
find out
stat.
last night. It's definitely a stat, yeah. And yeah, so the game I also have as well written down here, the game wasn't as scrappy as I expected considering like the preseason
Yeah,
action between these two teams.
it really wasn't. I
Like
was
there
kind
was no fights and the penalties were all like whatever.
mm, I was
But
like,
yeah,
I was. It was interesting.
it's interesting, yeah. Um so I yeah, all of my notes now for tonight's game no longer matter. Because I did say I don't know, I was like unsure on who will start tonight. We now know who's starting. Dennis Hildeby will be
That
making
is
his
still
NHL debut tonight against the New Jersey Devils in the second game of the season.
huge.
Congratulations to Dennis Hildeby. It's huge. It's a huge. It's 23 NHL debut against a fairly good team from what we've
Mm,
seen so far. Also against his former coach.
yeah.
This was the same guy who wouldn't play him last year on the California road trip that we talked about.
Mm. Yeah, I hope he remembers that. Oh, and if
Hope you
not,
remember.
Dennis will make sure
But
Sheldon keeps remembering.
I know some people were nervous about it because of the fact that it is like it's New Jersey and they're a very good team and they have whatever. But like Dennis is he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's very calm and collected, like most goalies are. He's also absolutely massive.
Huge. Like he is
He's
peak, like teeny tiny pocket sized.
is six
Absolutely
foot
massive.
seven. Is 6'7". Because I was reading an article in the Athletic today about like him potentially making a start. Like it was kind of the argument for like why he should and why he shouldn't make the start,
Mm.
like get the start tonight. And it was like, yeah, the only maybe the only guy in the locker room who can look down slightly in parentheses on Anthony Stoller's.
Oh dear.
But yeah, and I think then maybe like we will perhaps see then that'll kind of like keep in Anthony Stoller's for Saturday, the home
Yeah.
opener against Pittsburgh. So it's like to kind of discuss this, to kind of flush out this Joseph. Oh, also as well in net, just to not in net, but like in net for New Jersey is Markstrom, as expected.
Mm.
But yeah, Reeves is not in the lineup. McMahon is in. Timmins is still in the lineup. Liljegren is not, which confuses me, and I don't get it.
No, yeah, choices were made.
Choices were made. I mean, sure, you could maybe argue, I think like analytically, like if you looked at that stupid bar graph that comes out every game about like how that we're supposed to be like, yeah, this is representative of how good of a game players had. Connor Dimmons was like had a fairly good game, but like he wasn't on the ice for the one goal against. So and Marcy's totally frozen, which is making me nervous. So maybe oh yeah, her Wi-Fi totally crashed. So now we have just this. Oh no, is this gonna mess up the recording? Because you're in here twice now.
I don't understand what happened. Why? Can you kick the other one out?
I'm
I
keeping this
don't.
all in. I'm
It.
keeping this all in because you froze and I had a moment of wait a minute.
I was so confused.
I'm keeping this all in. This is hilarious. You were in here twice. And I was like, oh,
My laptop
I've
reloaded the
kicked your
page. It straight up just like reloaded, and I was like,
This is why you should use the app.
Oh, yeah. But I didn't. So
But yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, I you were like halfway through saying something, I think, and then you just totally froze, and I was like, oh well.
I didn't know what I
But
was
yeah, I
saying.
don't. Oh no, because I said something, and I was like waiting for you to respond because what I said was really funny, and then you didn't respond, and I was like, oh okay, I see how it is. Um, because I said, like there, I don't know when you like stopped hearing me, but it was like I was talking about how the like the bar graph that's supposed to like go over the
Mm.
analytics of how good the players were, and I was like, Connor Timmins was up there on that one, like he was in the top end of it, but also he was like not on the ice when the goal was scored.
Mm.
So yeah. But Bowman is in for Ryan Reeves, so we'll see him in action tonight. Also as well, notably, of course, and I feel like it'll be the story of the game. Um, the Leafs are going to be playing Sheldon Keefe and the New Jersey Devils. Sheldon Keefe
Yeah.
will be playing against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Not playing, but he will be coaching. He's not lacing them up. He will be coaching against the Toronto Maple Leafs, or even like any team in the Toronto Maple Leafs organization for the first time in his career,
Mm.
because he was hired from the Sioux to coach the
Yeah.
Marlies.
And now
And the
look
Leafs
at him.
media availability is just available. And I want to. Oh, Jake McCabe is in it.
Jay.
I don't think there's. I mean, we've gotten all the. I think the pretty buzzy quotes that we could have gotten. Yeah, it
Yeah.
literally is just. It's John Tavares, Jake McCabe, and Craig Berube, but John Tavares is in a suit for it, and he looks like an accountant. Nothing new. But yeah, I don't know how my expectations for this game are so low because it's a back-to-back with travel.
Yeah. It's gonna be a game.
It'll be a
Hockey
game.
will be played.
Yeah, we will get at least 60 minutes of hockey being
Mm.
played.
Yeah, and that's our expectations for the night.
Yeah, it is against the New Jersey Devils, so who's to know what's going to happen with this game? Um, like because I do know that like in his media availability, Sheldon Keefe alluded to like that game where 3 goals got called back. And
Mm.
he was like, "Oh, I hope it's a normal game." Like it was like, "I hope it doesn't. I hope what like I hope what happened like the one time we were here doesn't happen again because I don't want to be on the other side of that." But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about the Leafs. I mean, I guess yeah, the Leafs will play then because this is our last show before next week. Then again, we'll make their have their home opener on Saturday against Pittsburgh. Who knows? We'll be in net for that one.
Mm.
Probably Anthony Stolarz. We will see. We will then be back on Tuesday as well. Not Monday because of Thanksgiving.
Tuesday.
We're really Tuesday's really exciting. I'm excited for Tuesday's
I'm so
show.
excited. I can't wait.
It's so exciting.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Um, but yeah, I guess also what we can talk about though is the news of yesterday
Mm.
involving the Ottawa Senators, who make their season opener and home opener tonight against the Florida Panthers, Kentucky Derby.
Indeed.
It is that Linus Ullmark signed a 4-year extension to kick in next season.
Oh yeah.
$8.25 million AAV locks him down for 5 years in the city of Ottawa. That's really exciting. Gives Ottawa good goaltending. I mean, some people are saying he's not a Vezina. Like, I saw people being really stupid online yesterday, being like, he's not a Vezina winning goalie. It's like, he won the Vezina. And they're like, it's because of Boston's defense. We know that Boston's defense wasn't doing a whole lot for them. If you looked at how
Mm.
Korpisalo played on Tuesday, um, but I will say Steve Sales did the one thing in less than a year because we covered his hiring on this show. in less than a year that Pierre Dorian could never do. And that is acquire good goaltending.
Woo!
Pierre Dorian could never do it. He never managed to acquire good goaltending long term. Matt Murray was fine. He got hurt and then sent off to Toronto. But yeah, I also will say it's huge for Ottawa as well as a team and just sort of setting like an organizational standard as well. And also as well, like setting an environment like where, hey, free agents could see Ottawa as an option now more so than they have in the past. Because like all Linus Ullmark has done since he got here has been like, Ottawa's so great. I love Ottawa.
Yeah, he's having the time of his life right now.
Yeah. He's enjoying it. He will get the start tonight. Sens have been hosting a whole bunch of stuff from like their home opener activities. They had a bunch of different activities and fan activation stuff and like a red carpet and things like that, which is really fun.
Yeah.
So that's cool. It's nice.
Just a bit fun.
But yeah, no, Linus Ullmark looking sharp in like the 3-piece green suit with the matching green hat.
Oh, the matching hat.
But yeah, so big news for Ottawa. I do know a lot of Sens fans were very excited when this news happened.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine.
If you listened to the radio show yesterday,
you guys sounded thrilled.
yeah, I wasn't really talking a whole, but yeah, no, Tyler. The correction is Tyler sounded thrilled.
Yeah, Tyler was having the time of his life.
Tyler was having the time of his life, and he was forgetting that there was someone else wearing headphones in the room. And so he had to keep turning down my headphone volume on the control board because there'd be every so often I just have to take my headphones off.
Yeah, slight deafening.
Slight deafening. Yeah, and I'd like to maintain my hearing long term. Thank you very much. I already don't have that great a hearing as it is. But yeah, so we can do some quick rapid fire looks at some scores around the league in the first 2 days of the regular season. Blues in Seattle to face the Kraken. St. Louis beat Seattle 3-2. I didn't watch a whole lot of that game because it was at 4:30 on a Tuesday. I had things to do. That was just a weird timing. That was because it was also played in Seattle. So that game was played at 1:30 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. It was actually, the attendance for it was very good. I think it was sold out, which is, I think, really commendable for a game. Dennis told me rookie laugh. Thank you, Mark Masters.
I need to see. Oh, this is such a huge day for me. Oh, Dennis!
Wait, someone definitely forgot that it was his. Anyways, but yeah, that was just weird. That was just weird timing where I was like, why is this your? Anyways, Boston in Florida, lost 6-4 to Boston lost 6-4 to the Florida Panthers in Florida. Korpisalo got the start. He let in 6 goals. He had like an .829 save percentage. And the best part is after, I think, the 3rd goal, just every time the Florida Panthers scored, they would just cut to Jeremy Swayman on the bench, and it was cinematic. I was having the time of my life watching that game as someone who hates both of those teams and also covers the Ottawa Senators. I was it was great. It was so great. I was coming up with all the jokes. I was like chirping everyone. Korpisalo was going strong. And also as well on Tuesday, Utah played their first game at home, and also their first game of the season against Chicago, where Utah won 5-2 against Chicago. I have my opinions on Utah. Like one of them is just like I I can see why, because there is a chance for the Arizona franchise to be revived. But
Mm,
also as well, it's like the fact that like despite it being the same group of players that literally play for the Ottawa, the play for not play for the Arizona Coyotes last year, they're like totally ignoring the history and the legacy. And I'm like, guys,
yeah.
um, like just a little bit of acknowledge would be nice because this team did not spring up out of nowhere.
No.
They came from somewhere.
Like the
There
team was
wasn't an
built
expansion graph.
somewhere else.
Literally, the team was built somewhere else and was going like just starting to hit its stride of not
Mm.
being the bottom of the barrel. But yeah, Dylan Gunther got the first goal of that game. Good for him.
Yeah.
Young kid, Canadian. I
That's all
just
that matters.
I've seen I no, I just I've seen him in the World Juniors.
Mm. Look at him go.
Um, but yeah, also as well, then last night, New York, New York and Pittsburgh shut out the Pittsburgh Penguins 6-0. Also keeping up with the trends, Winnipeg Jets in Edmonton shut out the Edmonton Oilers 6-0. Stuart Skinner was
Yeah.
pulled after like 5 goals on 12 shots or something ridiculous. It wasn't good. It was bad. Um,
Oh,
Calgary Flames in Vancouver to face off against the Canucks, won in overtime, 6-5 against Vancouver. And Colorado was in Vegas to play the Golden Knights, and they lost. Colorado lost 8-4 to Vegas. So if you were a top 10 player in the league, you did not have a very good night
no.
last night. It was just not great.
Miserable.
Um, yeah. And then to finish off the show, I just wanted to touch on something that we haven't really talked about that like I could probably spend an entire podcast episode talking about. Um, and that is that the NCAA board of directors is going to vote on changing eligibility rules for CHL players sometime in the next month. This change also will impact alpine skiing, which is something I didn't know until I saw the press release and I had to do a deep dive. I was like, wait, what? Like
Yeah.
I knew NCAA had alpine skiing because I actually used to race against I raced against a couple of girls who now ski on the NCAA circuit. But um it was more so about the fact that I didn't know that like I that hockey and alpine skiing had the same had the same eligibility rules, and I did some research in it, and it wasn't anything to do with like pro player or like prize money or anything like that.
Mm.
It was because of like it was like age requirements and things like that because it was like something with fists. It was like, but if you play in the nationals, it was very confusing, and I was like, I am so glad I did not have to navigate this at like
Yeah.
16. I'm
Oh.
so glad that I was not good enough to have to navigate this at 16 to think about going and like joining an NCAA program. Um, but yeah, but this vote, the more the impact that we care about really at the end of the day is that it will allow CHL players to play in the NCAA, something that they weren't able to do prior than that because the stipend that CHL players receive from their teams for playing games was considered as a salary by the NCAA and therefore did not fall in within the amateur
Mm.
rules of the sport, which is like in order to compete in the NCAA, you must still maintain your amateur athlete status, meaning you must not have made salary or money from competing in your sport, which is something that like has impacted sport. There other bigger NCAA sports before, where it was a whole thing with name name and likeness. Name, image, likeness is the acronym, but um, before that has been turned over, and so now we're slowly starting to see it move as well. We have the lines for the game tonight, and it is exactly what we thought.
Whoa, no way.
Yeah. But I will say we'll see this impact in various stuff, and we've already seen it actually in the past couple of days since this vote. Like they haven't even voted on it, and we've already seen some impact being felt in the past couple of days. But yeah, this will impact the CHL, so that'll be the WHL, the QMJHL, and the OHL, so cult. It'll impact youth sports because youth sports for a very long time has been kind of the landing place for a lot of players who age out of the CHL and would like to continue playing hockey but aren't good enough to play pro in North America or aren't good enough or need just a little bit more time to become like an adult so they can play pro over in Europe. Since they can't go to the NCAA. So we potentially could see this impacting youth sports where we could see less guys leave like after they've aged out of major junior. Instead of going to the youth sports route, go the NCAA route. We could see this impacting the NCAA because we could see them seeing an influx of top tier talent that was playing in the CHL prior to this. And also as well, this could impact the USHL, which is often a very common landing place for a lot of Canadian top talent who want to go the NCAA route and need a place to play between the ages of like 15 to 18. Is they'll either go there's oh my god, I'm trying to remember, it's AAA. There's AAA, which is below major junior. And that's like your leagues like the SJHL and the AJHL, which is like Saskatchewan Junior Hockey. There's so many acronyms. That often is a landing place for these athletes before they reach the NCAA, in between, like as they move up through the ladder. But also as well, a lot of these guys, and you'll see it, a lot of guys with, especially, it's more specifically, it's Canadians because a lot of Americans end up in the national development program, as well as the USHL, but it's more so with Canadians. You'll see them Chicago. The Chicago Steel is a big one for specifically guys who end up at Michigan. If you do any digging into this, you will see trends resurface with this sort of thing. But the USHL could see it already is less competitive than the CHL in terms of the hockey that's being played. Even though they are technically the same level of major junior. But you may perhaps see a lesson, like an even further decrease in how competitive and how skilled the hockey is, because the Canadians or even like the Americans who play in the USHL because they would like to maintain their NCAA eligibility, but were drafted to play in the CHL, may then elect to play in the CHL because it's a higher competition and there's just a little bit more of that there's a little bit more, I don't want to say elitism, that's not the right word I was looking for, but I can't even think of the word that I was looking for. You know what I mean though. There's just a little bit more of that like aura and reputation when it comes to the CHL and when it comes to those like the leagues like the W and the Q. Because the hockey's just that much better. You have the chance to play for the Mem Cup, depending on where you end up, and it's just all of those sort of things as well. We've already seen in the past couple of days, there's been a couple of players who were playing in the USHL who've then transferred to their CHL teams that drafted them, and despite already being committed to NCAA teams. And to finish out their major junior careers before starting college. So we'll see how it plays out. I mean, I'm sure we won't see the full impact of that for the next couple of years, but it's just one of those things to keep your eyes on. I do also know Jeff Merrick tweeted out that the USHL and the CHL are in talks to do some sort of collaboration. I don't know if that means creating like a super mega like ultra league where it's like the CHL and the USHL all combine into one like crazy giant league, and they have interleague play and things like that, which is
Mhm.
something that doesn't even exist really in the CHL. Like the dub and the O and the Q, those teams don't play each other until the Mem Cup.
Yeah.
Like, despite the fact that the Ottawa 67s and the Gatineau Olympiques are literally a river apart from each other,
Mm.
like they are a 15-minute drive, I believe, or like I think it's like 20 minutes rink to rink. They don't play each other unless both teams end up playing for the Mem Cup at the end of the season. So
Wild.
I don't know how that will work. Maybe it's something where it's like player transfers, there's limits on player transfers, or like if a player
Mm.
gets drafted into the league like that, the team that like the decision. It's interesting. I will say though, in the way that this is can be seen as a positive, is it gives more options to young players to just in where they want to play. It's giving them more of
Mm.
a choice. It's also giving them more of a choice and more thinking about a player's future as well,
Yeah.
because not everyone is going to make it to the level where they can play professional hockey. And so instead of having to make the decision at 15 of like, okay, would you like to play major junior, or would you like to play at a lower level of hockey, or maybe go play in the USHL and have to move further away from your family,
Mm.
to then be able to really guarantee yourself an ability to get a degree while still continuing to play hockey. Like you can, I mean, that is
Yeah.
what U Sports is also for, but there are so many players that then go into like that go into major junior and then don't really know what to do if like the whole pro hockey thing doesn't work out for them. But it's like,
Mm.
oh, if you've now aged out of NCAA, you now have this decision. No, if you've not aged out of NCAA, if you've now aged out of the CHL, you now have this decision or this opportunity to go play NCAA hockey, which is highly competitive and does put more of a spotlight on you as a player as well. And it's a different environment than U Sports because it is just take it like, and I say this with
Mm.
the utmost respect to U Sports because I love U Sports. I love going to watch U Sports games. They're really, really fun and it is really competitive hockey. But like there's just more of a spotlight that's placed on NCAA and there's more resources given to
Mm.
NCAA hockey
Yeah.
comparatively to U Sports. That's just more money gets pumped into those programs. But yeah, just it's very interesting. It also then means that kids at 15 aren't necessarily having to make a decision that impacts the entire rest of their life as much.
Yeah.
Because like because I know people are talking about this in the context of like, oh, okay, so now you're not forcing 20-year-old kids to decide what they want to do for the rest of like
Mm.
you're not. I'm like, no, no, no. Because I was talking to this about I was talking about this to just people in the offsite chat because we've been talking about this over the course of the past couple of days in the offsite like
Mm.
in our work chat and stuff like that. And I was like, guys, no, you don't realize like because the CHL is such a hard concept for people who aren't Canadian to kind of grasp the sort
Yeah.
of aura and the reputation of this league and the culture that exists within the CHL and like the three leagues
Mm.
and things like that because like in a lot of small towns these kids are celebrities. It's so weird. But
Wow.
it's like if you don't grow up surrounded by it with like the mystique of like winning a men cup and like things like that, it's very hard to understand. But it's like, no, 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 guys, this isn't like oh, when you're 18, 20, having to make this decision in the same way that like us, we're deciding on where to go for university and what to study in university. No, 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 no. These kids are having to discuss like having to choose their life path for the next 5, 10 years of their lives, or like have to make major career decisions
Mm.
about hockey at the age of 15. At
Yeah.
15, because that's when you're like you are CHL eligible unless you do the special exception. Oh, I'm so good and
Mm.
talented, I get special privileges. You're having to make this. You get drafted at 16 to like
Yeah.
you are CHL eligible at 16 years old.
Just
And
children.
so imagine at 15 having to decide, okay, do I want to like look into, like really try to get drafted by CHL, or do I want to maybe go a different route so I can pursue NCAA and I can have that opportunity to play hockey and pursue a really sought after degree? Like, especially if you're a
Mm.
Canadian kid, like I also know this will impact Americans as well, but like it's mostly Canadians in CHL. You also have to think how this would impact like international players as well. But like Canadian, like an American like university degree is like very rare in Canada. There's not like because it's a bajillion times more expensive. And we have perfectly good universities here, but like to then have the opportunity to go to a really sought after university like University of Michigan or BU, Boston College, Harvard, Northeastern, U, Minnesota. I'm just listing off colleges off the top of my head, but um yeah,
Yeah.
so it's very interesting. It's definitely something to follow, and we'll probably, keep you guys updated in the next couple of weeks. And also, I do know that we have some stuff in the works surrounding the CHL, surrounding NCAA at Offside, so keep an eye out on the site for that sort of stuff.
Ooh.
I gotta do the promo where I can. Look. Um, but yeah, that's all I have. I don't know if you have anything else to
Yeah.
add. If you
I
do, floor is
don't
yours. You don't?
know. I think we've discussed everything I had.
Yeah?
Yeah. Look at us go.
Look at us go. Yeah. I don't think I'm trying to think. I have nothing else as well. Game puck drop is in 10 minutes, so I think we should probably end
Yeah.
this episode here. With that being said, we will be back actually not on Monday. We'll be back due to Canadian Thanksgiving. We
Ooh.
will be back on Tuesday,
Yay.
though. Don't worry. Yeah, the Leafs play Saturday and then they play again on Wednesday, so like you're not missing us too much. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure to check the come back on Tuesday. When we have our another episode.
The
You
very
can
special guest.
I didn't think we were gonna say we were gonna have a guest, but yes, we have a very special guest on Tuesday.
So I meant to say a very special surprise, but I'm so tired my brain didn't
So
function.
yes, very special guest, but we will not be telling you who it is, but we will be.
No, you have to wait. You have to
That's how
tune
we
in
get you
to
guys
find out.
to find out. Um, this has been From the Fourth Line, presented by Offside News. You can find Offside News on on every social media platform at Offside News Co. You can also find all of the articles and everything that the site does on the website online at www.offsidenewsco.com. I'm falling apart. It's been such a long day. Thursday episodes are so hard. You can follow the show on Twitter at From the Fourth Line. That's fourth with the number 4th. You can also find the show wherever you get your podcast. All of that information, as always, will be in the show notes. Thank you so much. You can also find us on Twitter in between episodes. You can find Marcie on Twitter at 6leafs. You can find myself at PearB1. Thank you guys so much for listening. Please don't listen to this anymore. Go watch the Leafs game. I don't know. Just this is falling apart. This is a mess. We will see you guys next time. Go Leafs, go.
So. God, you